बाणी गुरु
गुरु है बाणी विच बाणी अमृत सारे। गुरबाणी कहे सेवक जन मानै पर तख गुरु निस्तारे।
अमृत
बाणी हर हर तेरी सुन सुन होवे परम गत मेरी। जलन बुझी शीतल होए मनुआ सतगुर का दर्शन पाए जियो। फिरत प्रभ आया परया तो सरनाए। नानक की प्रभ बेनती अपनी भगति लाए। नानक की प्रभ बेनती अपनी भगति लाए। सुनै सिद्ध पीर सुरनाथ सुनै धरत तवल आकाश। सुनै दीप लोह पाताल। सुनै पोहे न सकै काल। नानक भगता सदा विगास। सुनै दुख पाप का नाश। सुनै सिद्ध पीर सुरनाथ। वाहेगुरु जी का खालसा वाहेगुरु जी की फतेह।
Param Satkaryo Guru Khalsa Sad Sangat Ji. We're blessed to be in the presence of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj in the eternal form of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, sharing the teachings, the eternal, endless and infinite teachings as contained in Sri Japji Sahib Path, that wonderful and blessed Mala Mandir prayer given to us by the Guru to help us learn about Brahm, about God, about Vaheguru, to help us learn about our true form, what we really are underneath this body. And now we're continuing on to the Sunaya Pauri. The Siddhs last week were speaking to Guru Nanak, tempting Guru Nanak, and saying to Guru Nanak that if you join our order, we will make you so very famous. You will be able to extend your life for the length of 4 ages. You will be known across all of the continents. Everybody will think of your name. The Siddhs had previously tried to tempt Guru Nanak by saying, if you join our order, we will give you gems, jewels and rubies. And now, turning to the ever elusive gift of seeming immortality, of long life, the Siddhs have turned to Guru Nanak and said, join our order and we will give you this. And Guru Nanak has given that perfect exposition, that perfect teaching, that even if I was to live for 44 ages, even if I was to live for more than 4.5 million years, if my name was known across the 9 continents, if I had fame and all material wealth, what of all these things if I haven't obtained the grace, if I haven't obtained the grace, if my life has not been pleasing to Vaheguru, then what of all of these years? Guru Nanak goes on to give the perfect teachings that if you think of money and wealth and attachment to Maya, when your time to leave this world comes to pass, that you will have to be born again as a snake, as Bhai Gurdas Ji teaches us. And that if you wrongly take from the house of another, and eat from their house, just like false people pretend to be the form of God and impersonate the Guru. That those people that do this, that eat from other people's houses, that in the next life, those people will eat from you. And we had the Sakhi of Guru Har Gobind Sahib, and that poor snake who was destined to have to suffer being eaten literally from the inside out by the false followers that he had amassed in his previous life when he pretended to be a guru, as a false guru. And last week we ended with the Siddhs asking Guru Nanak that you're saying that we should reflect upon God and do Simran, and all the while we should think of ourselves as lowly, and that Waheguru gives us all of these gifts, that he's the bestower of all gifts. We ended last week with the Siddhs asking Guru Nanak, well, does anybody bestow any gifts upon Waheguru? And Guru Nanak replied that there is none who can bestow any gifts upon the one that bestows all gifts. And so we pick up this conversation between the Siddhs and Guru Nanak now. And the Siddhs are taken aback by this teaching that no one can do Sujji, that no one can bestow any gifts upon Waheguru. And they say to Guru Nanak, what of his name? What of Paramatma's name? This blessed Guru Mantar, Waheguru, Sare Akho,
Waheguru.
The Siddhs say to Guru Nanak, what of his name? And the next four pauriya are Guru Nanak replying about the strength, the power contained in Waheguru's name. Hanji.
Sunay Siddh Peer Surnath.
The Siddhs ask Guru Nanak, what is the power in listening to the name of God? And Guru Nanak so perfectly replies, perhaps surprisingly to the Siddh's ears, Sunay Siddh Peer Surnath. Siddh, in its primary arth, can be taken to mean the people that Guru Nanak is speaking to at the time that this conversation is taking place. The Siddhs are those yogis, those ascetics, who through practicing yoga, had obtained the ability to extend their lives and obtain riddhya, siddhya, these occult powers. And the Siddhs are being told by Guru Nanak that just by listening to Waheguru, just by listening to the name of God, that you could attain the state of a Siddh. Peer. The Peers were known to be and are still regarded as the Islamic philosophers, those teachers who have a great knowledge in the Islamic faith, the scholars, if you like. Guru Nanak is saying, just by listening to the name Waheguru, the Shakti, the power to be obtained from listening to the Guru Mantar, you can become the status of a Peer. You can become a Peer. Sur. Sur is a reference to the Devi Devte. Those 33 million different incarnations, different facets, different faces of Akal Purakh, the one Lord. Guru Nanak is saying again, those Sur, those Devi Devte that people worship in the Hindu Dharam, in the Sanatan Dharam, the old faith, just by listening to Waheguru, you could obtain the status, you could become a Devi or a Devta. And Nath, Gorakhnath was known to be the leader of the Siddhs. So there were 84 Siddhs. And Gorakhnath, Nath is a reference to the leadership, that one who is in charge, who has fame even amongst the Siddhs. The Siddhs themselves are famous across the land. But within the 84, that one which takes leadership, who is seen as superior, is Gorakhnath. And again, Guru Nanak is saying, Suniya, just by listening, you could become Nath. Guru Nanak is saying to the Siddhs that when you listen to the name of God, which is outside of Maya, outside of this creation, that you can achieve any place within creation. And of course the Siddhs, the Peer, the Sur and the Nath, they all make up a part and parcel of the creation. Another way that we can, a different art that we can take from this Bhakti is Siddha can be like to fix, Siddha Karnaya, and Peer is pain. Guru Nanak is saying by listening to the Guru Mantra, any Peer, any suffering which you are going through in life, or Siddha ho sakta hai. All that pain can be fixed, all of those things can be made pakka, can be fixed and made whole and right. And if we look at our history, there are so many examples of great Gurmukhs that took the name of Vaheguru upon their lips and achieved such a great achievements such as Shahidi and martyrdom, or great sacrifices for the Panth. And it was always the Shakti of the Naam, of the Bani of Guru Nanak that gave him the ability to do that. Equally, when we take the second half of this Bhakti, Sur and Nath. So the Sur is a reference to the Devi Devta, the 33 million gods in the Hindu Dharma, some of which are worshipped, perhaps mistakenly, as Paramatma, as God themselves. The Nath, the leader of those Devi Devta, is Vaheguru. The ones that they serve in this creation is Vaheguru. And Guru Nanak is saying that those Sur may have achieved their place in this creation as lofty beings that are worshipped by people, like for example Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, the three main gods that make up, maintain and destroy the creation. Guru Nanak is saying that they may have achieved their status by listening to the name, but by listening further still, they can achieve what they look for, which is to become one with God. Sur Nath. That the Devi Devta, they wish to do only one thing, which is to merge with the Creator, and they can so do this by listening to the name. Suniya Siddh Peer Sur Nath. Hanji.
Suniya Tarat Taval Akas.
Guru Nanak goes on to say, Suniya Tarat Taval Akas. Tarat, Tarti, the land, the earth. Taval, we'll come on to Taval in a minute. Akash is the sky. Guru Nanak is saying that just by listening, we can understand the way that the earth and the sky, the way that creation has come to be, the way that the land has come to be formed, and the process that takes place within the whole dunya, the land, the knowledge of science, if you like. But when we take a much more antarivat, if we take a more deeper internal message, Guru Nanak is saying that by listening, Suniya Tarat, we can become down to earth, quite literally. We can become down to earth, we can become humble. We can obtain nimrata. Because when we're saying Vaheguru, Sare Akho, Vaheguru, the first half of that blessed Guru Mantra is Vahe, meaning to be in acknowledgement, to be in reflection of the amazing, the astonishing Creator. So it's a natural sound that people make, and it's very intuitive. If you went to somebody that didn't know what Vah meant in the Vaheguru Mantra, they'll be able to sometimes probably tell you. What it means is to be an appreciation, to be an acknowledgement of, to have gratitude. So I'll give you a rather funny example. If you're watching football on the TV, Italian football, Italia, goal Italia, and someone scores a goal and the commentator will be like, wow. It's an intuitive sound of appreciation of skill or appreciation of gratitude. And when we're saying this Vaheguru Mantra, we are in appreciation of who? The one that has created the whole of this whole dunya. We say, Kudrat kavan kahavi char, vare na java ekvar, jo tud pave sai palikar, tu sada salamat nirankar. Kudrat kavan, your nature, kavan, Kudrat kavan kahavi char. What can I speak of your nature? How can I even narrate your glory? Or we can just say, rather than saying Kudrat kavan kahavi char, we can say Vaheguru. Sare akho, Vaheguru. Guru Nanak is saying that Suniya Tarat, by listening, we can become like the Dharti. We can become very humble. We can come back to our very root, excuse the pun, but the roots are in the ground. And by listening to the Guru Mantra, we can become so very humble, we can become connected with where our source came from, which is our root. And then by doing this, what can we become a part of? What can we really achieve? Akash. We can become, through going down into the ground and becoming humble, we can realize Akash, which means the heavens. Or we can take that to mean Paramatma Vaheguru. So the way to God, which we often think in a cliched sense, especially in Western philosophy, is sitting on a cloud in the sky, when in fact that's not correct. They're all around us, as well as a cloud in the sky. Guru Nanak is saying, Suniye Tarat, we can become like the ground, we can become grounded, like we're all seated on the ground in the Guru's Darbar. And in this way, we can become one with the Akash, one with the sky, one with the heavens. Tawal. In the middle of this pankti, we have this word Tawal. Tawal is a reference to the mythical bull. So in Sanatan Dharam, in the old religion, the Hindu Dharam, which has been around for thousands of years, Vedic scholarly knowledge, the belief was that the earth was being held up on the horns of a mythical bull. And it was this that stopped the earth from falling out of the sky. And we're not going to spend too much time talking about this now, because this whole episode in Guru Nanak's adventures and their teachings comes to be played out in much detail later on. When Guru Nanak gives out teachings. Suffice to say, for now, we will understand that Guru Nanak gives the teachings that actually there's no mythical bull that NASA has seen from the sky holding up the earth. But in fact, what's holding up the earth is dharam, righteous actions. Being a righteous being, that is righteousness, it is the gift of righteousness bestowed by Vaheguru to the creation that allows the earth to be suspended. And Guru Nanak is saying, Suniye Tarada Tavalakas, by listening, we can obtain that righteous quality. We can understand, we can have an understanding of the way of righteousness, the way that the earth has been suspended in the sky. And the importance of listening is expounded further by a Sakhi which we borrow from the Sanatan Dharam. So there were two great sages, and they were having a conversation with each other. Vishwamitra was one of the sages, and after spending about 58,000 years reciting and praying to God, he comes to meet his friend Vashisht. And Vashisht has spent about 96 minutes listening to the name of God in the Sadh Sangat. Vishwamitra, he says, look, I'll make a gift, I'm going to make a donation to you of all of the years that I have spent praying on God. And Vashisht says, I'll give you the time that I've spent in the Sangat. Perhaps they didn't know the actual currencies they were going to exchange. And so he makes a donation of his 58,000 years, these two great sages from a different age. And Vashisht says, okay, I spent about 96 minutes in the Sadh Sangat listening to Simran, listening to the name of God being recited. Vishwamitra, he's thinking, I've been hard done by here. I don't think this is a fair trade. 58,000 years praying. And you've just spent 96 minutes, Char Kariya. Each Kari is about 24 minutes, so we could say 24, 48, 96 minutes. So they decide to go to the senior Devi Devta. They go to the old demigods, Brahma, Vishnu and Shivji. And they say, look, we haven't got time for this conversation. And they send them away. And they go forward and they find themselves before another demigod whose name is Sheshnag. I won't complicate the Sakhi, but in simple terms, there were rival beliefs as to who was holding up the earth. Some believed it was a mythical bull, others believed it was a deity called Sheshnag, which is the form of a serpent, a snake. And so, in this particular itihas, in this particular part of Sanatan history, we will follow this lineage. And so they go to Sheshnag, Vishwamitra and Vashisht. They go and say, well, whose offering is greater? My 58,000 years in worship of God, or these 96 minutes that Vashisht has spent in the Sadh Sangat listening to the name of God? Sheshnag has got the whole weight of the world upon his head. He goes, listen, I'm a bit busy right now. I've got the weight of the entire world upon my head. I can't converse with you. If somebody had the Shakti, if one of you has the power to take the weight of the world off my head, then I can speak to you and I'll give you your answer. So Vishwamitra, he's like, yo, I've got this. I've got 58,000 years of currency of pun in my pocket, of good deeds, if you like. And so he takes these 58,000 years and he places it before the earth to take the weight, to take the strain and the pressure of the weight of the earth off of Sheshnag's head. But to no avail. There's no movement there. Vashisht quietly steps forward and makes the offering of the Jar Kariya, the 24 minutes, the 96 minutes that he had spent in the Sadh Sangat. And lo and behold, the weight of the earth is moved and Sheshnag is allowed to speak. Though at this point, Sadh Sangat ji, just like you're all smiling right now, there's no words need to be spoken. The teaching has already been illustrated that if you are so lucky to come into the Sadh Sangat, if a time should come when you're lucky enough to sit in the Sadh Sangat and vibrate upon the name, then you are so very blessed. And we only have to look at the example of Vashisht and Vishwamitra to understand that whilst we should spend as much time doing that, even one moment in the Sadh Sangat, Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj says, Ek cheta je ek chenati ayo, kal paas ke beej na ayo. That if you should even reflect upon Paramatma for one moment, that you will be taken beyond death. And we'll reflect upon that a little bit further below. But the teaching here is that that by listening, we can understand the support of the earth is truly Paramatma's name, righteousness. And that also by listening to the name Waheguru, we can understand that that by becoming humble, that by sitting on the floor in the Guru's Darbar, that by sitting on the floor in the Guru's Langar Darbar as well, that we can lower our ego, that we're sitting one next to the other as brothers and sisters and saying we're going to break bread together as equals. There's no coincidence in this. Sadh Sangat Ji, when we go to the Langar hall and we sit down to break bread as brothers and sisters, that's not because Guru Nanak ran out of chairs. We are talking about the house where the food never runs out, where the Guru's Darbar and the Guru's Langar hall is open to all people across the entire world. They feed about 6 million people Langar. There's not a lack of chairs in there because of any form of shortcoming. The Guru's Darbar, if you look at Darbar Sahib at Golden Temple, is set up in a royal court of a king. And emperors have gone to the court of Guru Nanak and sat on the floor. Emperors like Emperor Akbar, who travelled far and wide to go and visit Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj. And when they went to go see Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj, expecting to be sat on a throne, they were told that, yo, if you want to come into the house of Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj, you must first lower your ego. Suniya tarat, become low to the earth. And Akbar, he actually sat on the floor. But forget emperors of this world, my brothers and sisters. Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj, they sat on the floor in the Guru's Darbar. And why would you want to sit anywhere above the place where Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj teaches us to sit? So humble Benti Sadh Sangat Ji, if you didn't know before, that's fine. But if you can find it within your heart to respect us all as equals, and if we can, disabilities allowing, old age allowing, and things like that, knees creaking allowing, let's take this opportunity to really delve and sit in that blessed place where all the jewels and the gems and the diamonds are sitting, and sit equally with your brothers and sisters in the Darbar and in the Langar hall too. Hanji.
Sonaya deep loh patal.
Guru Nanak goes further and says, Sonaya, by listening deep. The continents, the 7 continents, for deep law meaning lok, the different realms, the planets, the different places in the universe, patal, and the 7 hells. By listening to the name of Waheguru, Sare Akho, Waheguru. Guru Nanak is saying that by listening to the Guru Mantra, which is Waheguru, you can fully understand how the 7 continents exist and their nature. You can fully understand how the 14 realms, the different sort of how would you put it? The different places where different dimensions, the different dimensions we can say, the 14 different dimensions, and the different hells, the 7 hells. So the 7 continents, the 14 realms and dimensions, and the 7 hells. You can understand how all of this world play comes to be. So we have a system of karma, which we've spoken about previously, but just to recap. How karma works is that depending on the actions that you do, if you are doing positive, good actions, this is probably universal to all dharma, all different religions. Depending on the actions that you do, that will determine where you end up in your next life. So if you do good actions, you'll end up in a heavenly place, if you like. And if you do bad actions, you will end up in a hellish planet. And these places do exist. And in Sikh Dharma, it's acknowledged that this is so. So there are different hells and there are different heavens. And Guru Nanak is saying that by listening to the Guru Mantra, you understand how all of these different dimensions and all of these different hells and heavens interact. You'll have an understanding of the way of these things. But for a Guru Sikh, it's not to be caught up in these things. When you start thinking, I'm going to do some good things so that I go to heaven, or that person's done bad things, they're going to go to hell. Or, and some of us might say, that guy's done a few bad things to me, I may wish something bad upon him. That when you start thinking this way, it becomes almost transactional. Like, I do this for you, you can do something for me. But when we spoke about love, true love, when you think of a mother whose love for a child is such that when a child cries for milk, the mother doesn't think, I'm going to give this baby some milk so that when it's older it gives me something. No, it's just an unconditional love, because the welfare of the mother, the welfare of the child is the mother's primary, paramount concern. And so we go to the times of Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji Maharaj to get this true teaching that we're not supposed to get caught up in pun and pap. So this is what I was just talking about. So in the world, people think that when they do pun, when they do good deeds, that they're going to go to heaven. And that when they do pap, that they're going to go to hell. But the teachings of the Gurus is that we should be acting without reflection, without care for worldly rewards, or rewards of a worldly sense outside this world. And to illustrate this point perhaps better than I can, we go to the Charan of Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji Maharaj for a teaching. At the time of Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, there was a Pandit, and this is in northern Punjab, in an area which is now known as Har Gobindpur, because the area is actually named after Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji. And there was a Pandit there called Pandit Nit Anand. And he was without any work. Nobody would employ him. But Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, blessed, who was always giving blessings, the giver of all gifts, Sabna Jiya Ka Ik Data, says to the Pandit that you'll have a place in my darbar. Sache Seti Ratya Milyana Thave Thao. That those people that have no place in the world, they will always find themselves wandering into the Guru's darbar, and the Guru will always give them love and a place. So this Pandit, Nityanand, he comes to the Guru's darbar and says, my job is to do Katha, to do discourse on the Purans, the scriptures of the Hindus. Can you give me a place? And Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, Antarjami, the knower of all hearts and the seer of all futures, they give them a place to do discourse about the Purans, but they were going to bring forth a teaching that was going to be eternal, beyond the teachings of the Purans, something which us as Sikhs are going to learn, and forevermore we'll be talking about the glory of Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji. And so we'll try and narrate and share this together now. So a time comes when Nityanand is in the Guru's darbar and they're doing discourse from the Guru Puran. And they speak about what happens when you die in the Purans. And in the Purans it says that those people that do good deeds, do charitable deeds, what will happen is that they will go in chariots to the next world. Whereas those people that spend their life doing bad deeds, that they will go from this world, es log, to parlog, to the next log. They will go, and on their way they will get beaten by Jamduts the whole journey. And the journey is about 86,000 Georgians. That's the measure that is given to us in our history by Sant Gurbachan, Gyani Gurbachan Singh Ji Khasa Pindrawale. And Gyani Ji says that, scholars have translated that one Jojan is just under 10 miles. So the journey is about 825,000 miles. And depending on what you do, if you've done pun, if you've done good deeds, you'll go on that journey in a chariot. And if you've done bad deeds, you'll get beaten all along the way. Don't sound like much fun to do any bad deeds now, does it? And he says that this journey takes about 1 year to complete. This is what Pandit Nityanand is talking about in the discourse. And when they come outside, Pandit Ji, he sees 4 Gurmukhs, 4 Guru Sikh Pyareo, who are the Sikhs of Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji. And they're speaking amongst themselves about the discourse of Nityanand, of the Pandit. And one of those Guru Sikhs, whose name is Bhai Sundar Ji. And Bhai Sundar Ji says that with the blessings of Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, I can go from this world to Parlok, the next world, in about 4 pair. The day is broken up into 8 pair, 8 pair. And each pair is about 3 hours. So Bhai Sundar Ji says, I can go from this world to the next world in about 12 hours. The second Gurmukh there says, I can actually make that journey in about 2 pair, in about 6 hours, from this world to the next world. The third Gurmukh that is there in the presence, he says, I can actually make that journey in 1 pair. In just 3 hours, I can make that journey that Pandit Nityanand is saying will take about a year to complete. And the fourth Gurmukh who's standing in the presence, he's smiling. He says to his brothers, he goes, Sikho, because with the blessings of Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, I can go from this world to the next world and back in ek pal, in 1 pal. A pal is about 24 seconds. And Pandit Nityanand, he's hearing this and he's shocked. He's also very annoyed. And he goes to see Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji and he vents his anger. He says, he speaks obviously about how frustrated he is. And Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, the 6th Guru of the Sikhs, he says to Nityanand, he goes, what is it that's concerning you? Nityanand says, Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, Sache Paatshah, O true king, what can I tell you? Your Sikhs, they're speaking in a way that I consider to be defamatory. They're speaking in a way that I don't consider very respectful. Either the Sikhs are true, they're saying that they can go to Parlok, they can go to the world beyond in 12, 6, 4, even 24 seconds. You tell me, Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, are the Purans false or are your Gur Sikhs, are they speaking false? And Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, oh Haspaya, they start laughing. They say, Pandit Ji, you need to understand that neither the Purans are false, neither are the words of those Gur Sikhs that will ever speak the truth. And Nityanand is a bit confused. And looking around, I'm seeing a few people that are confused as well. Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji says, allow me to take away your confusion. They turn to Bhai Gurdas Ji. Bhai Gurdas Ji is the blessed Gurmukh. They were Guru Arjan Dev Ji's mama. They were the brother of the mother of Guru Arjan Dev Ji. They are very respected Gur Sikh, and their teachings can be found in a separate scriptures, a separate set of teachings called Bhai Gurdas Ji Avara. And it is said that if you want to fully understand the teachings of Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, that you can read Bhai Gurdas Ji Avara, that they are the key to the understanding of Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji turns to Bhai Gurdas Ji and says, can you explain? And what Bhai Gurdas Ji says is really interesting. Bhai Gurdas Ji says to Pandit Nityanand that what the Purans speak of are for those log that are living in Karam Kand, that are living in the way of Pun and Paap. They are living in accordance with the rules of creation. So when they do bad things, they're going to go to a hellish place. And in this way, it will take about 1 year. And they will have to go to that next land and they will get judged by Dharamraj, the person who judges you for your actions, and they will be punished accordingly. And that journey does take about 1 year, and it's about 825,000 miles away, 86,000 Georgians away. And those people in Karamkand that are just doing good deeds in this transactional way, in expectation for reward, those people that are doing good things for reward, they will go in chariots, just as the Purans say. And they will be rewarded after a year's journey, and they will go to temporary places like heavenly places. But you have to understand that the Gurmukh that falls at the feet of Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji Maharaj, that one that has been blessed, as we later now know by Guru Gobind Singh Ji, to drink from the Khanda, to become part of the Khalsa Panth. First things first, they commit no paap. Those Khalsa, they commit no paap. So there's no hellish place for them to ever go to be, there's no hellish place for them to have to be judged according to go and be sent to. But equally, they commit no pun either. What is this, you might say? They commit no good deeds? My brothers and sisters, it's not that the Khalsa doesn't commit good deeds, but pun in this context is being taken good deeds in return for a reward. But a Khalsa does Nishkam Seva. Seva, Nishkamta, what does Nishkamta mean? Kam is desire, Nish means without any desire for a reward. So when you walk, if you're ever so lucky to walk into the Guru's Darbar and do Langar Seva, we shouldn't go into the Guru's Darbar and do Langar Seva in the expectation of reward. The reward for a Khalsa is the fact that you got to be there in the first place and do Seva. And if you are so rewarded because Guru Sahib has opened up their kitchen and said, come in, I'm going to bless you, that you get a chance to serve the Khalsa Panth today, you've already received that blessing from the Guru. And we can say, Sat Bachan Maharaj, Sare Akho, Sat Bachan.
Sat Bachan.
We should be Nishkamta, Sare Akho, Nishkamta.
Nishkamta.
Meaning that we should be doing Seva without expectation, without pun in mind. So the Khalsa is without paap because they don't do no wrong. They are pure. That's what Khalsa means, coming from the word Khalis, meaning pure. But also the Khalsa does not commit any pun. We don't do any transactional worship for reward. Be Maharaj, I'm going to donate this many bags of rice. Please can you bless me in this way? The blessing is you got to donate the bags of rice in the first place. The blessing is you got to help that person in need in the first place. And if we understand this, what Bhai Gurdas Ji goes on to explain to Pandit Nityanand is that Khalsa doesn't go to get judged. For they are outside this game of paap and pun. They are outside this game of bad deeds or good deeds in expectation for reward. Pandit Nityanand, they are completely blown away by this teaching. And they say to Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji Maharaj, I want to see this, please, give it to me. Give me an understanding so it's not just words. And Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, they give that great blessing. They say, stay for a while. And Sant Gurbachan Singh Ji Khasa Pindrawale, in the Pehli Pothi, they explain that Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji gives a thapra, they give the great blessing that the Pandit gets to stay in the Sangat for 6 months. And Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji tells that Pandit, the great learned Pandit, what does he ask him to do? He says, vibrate upon the Vaheguru mantra. Sare Akho, Vaheguru. You have to understand, this Pandit is a very learned scholar. He's being given the opportunity to speak on the Purans in the house of none other than Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji themselves. But the teaching was no more complicated because of their knowledge, because they were so intellectual, because they may have had an equivalent of a master's or a PhD. The teaching we can take away from this is that the Vaheguru mantra is for the highest of the highest of the high. And if you are so lucky to be blessed, to given a chance to listen, to vibrate, to reflect upon the Guru mantra, there is no higher deed that you can undertake on this land. So the teaching from Bhai Gurdas Ji was that you should understand that the Khalsa is beyond pun and paap. And later we will hear this, punni papi akhanai. That in Guru Nanak Dev Ji gives his teaching to us that we are beyond that pun and paap, that these ways of acting in transactions This is not the way of the Khalsa. I'll tell you a funny story actually, that we were very fortunate to have a chance we were invited to a school to talk about Sikhi. It was a sixth form. It was a sixth form for a girls' school in Essex. And different dharams had sent different representatives forward to take questions from people that were studying, I think they were studying A-level religious education or something like this. And so we were at the front. I think there were different faiths there. I won't name the faiths because we're not here to denigrate anybody. But there were different faiths represented. The major world religions were there, and an atheist was there, and some other people. And the questions were about what happens to you when you die. And one faith says if you're good, you get to go to heaven. If you're bad, you get to go to hell. Another faith said that if you do good actions, you get rivers of wine, and we understand that they get offers of women and stuff like this. And different faiths put forward different beliefs. And when it came to our turn to speak, I don't take any, all of the glory is Guru Sahib's. And all we're doing is just providing that message forward. So I take none of this glory for myself. I'm just a servant. I'm actually beneath your feet. But I felt so very proud on behalf of the teachings of Guru Nanak when I was having the opportunity to bring this teaching forth. We wrote a Bangati on the board, "Vi Raj na jao, Mukt na jao, Man Preet Charan Kamalare." The teaching is that we said to the students that for a Gursikh, it's not about going to heaven. It's not about getting even paradise or these other things that other people are talking about. For a Gursikh, the blessing, the only thing that we want is to be attached to Waheguru's feet. Be Waheguru, Satya Pacha, Guru Nanak, just attach me to your feet. Wherever you go, I want to go. You go to heaven, I'll go with you to heaven. If you happen to go to hell, I'm happy there too. Just let me be with you, because that is Prema Bhakti. And the example that I gave was that to these students, so it was in the context of these students. It said that when you're going to go to the cinema with someone that you really care about, for example, and you might be completely submitting in that relationship, and you might say to yourself, I don't care what movie I watch, I just want to be with you. Whatever movie you want to watch, I'm absolutely fine. And that is the teaching of Guru Nanak in this context, that we shouldn't be doing good deeds in expectation for reward. The reward is that you've got to sit in the charan of the Guru in the first place and be directed towards a path of righteousness. And if you can understand this, then your lives will be, our lives, my life, if I can understand this, then all of our lives will become so much more blissful. Because we're going to get rewarded in the very moment that we do the good thing that we have the opportunity to do. Right now, the opportunity before us is to listen to the name of Waheguru. And so let's all recite the Guru Mantra together 5 times. Waheguru, 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 Satsangaji, let's try and get out of the habit of looking at what we're going to get in return for something and start acting selflessly. And when we start acting selflessly, we can start to forget ourselves. We can start removing our ego, and in this way, we will move ever more closer, ever forward towards attaining that one great bliss. And in fact, Guru Nanak is going to talk to us about that in just a moment. So, Suniye Deep Lo Patal. Guru Nanak is saying, Suniye, just by listening, you get to understand the ways of the continents, the realms, and the dimensions, and the ways of heaven. But actually, for a Gursikh, the higher teaching here we can say, actually I can't say the higher teaching, but the teaching which we have shared here today is that we shouldn't be looking at heavens and hells and what may befall us. Let's try and become selfless. And when there's no self left, think about it, there's nothing to judge. When all of your actions are in the service of others and you forget yourself entirely, then what is there left of you to punish or reward? This is the teaching. Aap gavaiye, ta sau paiye, aur kaisi chitrai. Guru Sahib says, Aap gavaiye, forget yourself, Ta Soul Paiye, that is how you will find your husband Lord. Guru Sahib uses the metaphor of us all being soul brides in search of union, this wonderful blissful union with our husband Lord. Guru Sahib says, Aap gavaiye, forget yourself. Ta Soho Paiye, in this way, Soho, you will obtain your husband Lord. Aur kaisi jatarai, what else is there to do? So, an antariv, a different way of looking at this pankti, a more inward reflection of this pankti, is we can take deep to mean a candle. And law is the light atop the candle. And Guru Sahib is saying, Suniye, deep, just like the law is always flickering, the light is always flickering, there's never a stillness, the candle light is flickering. Guru Sahib is using a metaphor for our mind and saying that your mind is going to flicker here and there, but just by listening to the Gur Mantra, just by listening to the name of God, what can happen? Pa, Tal. Tal is the Sarup of Vaheguru, the form of God, or Palanaya. Guru Sahib says that you will become one with the form of God. And that candlelight, that light atop the candle will become so very still and become so very blissful and peaceful. That's we call the Antariv Arth, meaning the internal message given by that Pankti. Hanji.
Sunaya pohe na saka kal.
Pohe means to touch. Guru Nanak is saying, Sunaya pohe na sakke kal. Kal is death. Guru Nanak is saying, by listening to the Gur Mantra, that death will not be able to even touch you. Death will not be able to come near you. And just very quickly, I'll share a Sakhi with you again, going back to the time of Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji Maharaj, the 6th Guru of the Sikhs, who would wear 2 swords, Midi and Bidi, they were named, the sword of righteous temporal power in this world as a king, and the sword of Bidi, of spiritual power, teaching us that we should be saintly. At the time of Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji Maharaj, Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji Maharaj had children. And one of those children was Baba Atal Rai. Baba Atal Rai, when they were about 9 years old, they were very playful. And all day, or some days we should say, they would play a game similar to what we would call current day cricket. And Baba Atal Rai is playing cricket one day, and they're playing with their friend Mohan, who's about 11 years old. And a time comes when it's Mohan's turn to bat. But the sun begins to set. And so as darkness comes forward, Baba Atal Rai says that you will have to take your turn. You will be first to bat tomorrow. And Baba Atal Rai says these words, and Mohan goes home. Baba Atal Rai goes home, and all of their friends go in their different directions. When the day breaks, everybody congregates upon the field to continue the game. Baba Atal Rai comes, but Mohan is nowhere to be found. Being Mohan's turn to bat, Baba Atal Rai sends one of their friends to Mohan's house. And the news is learned that in the night, Mohan, he's been bitten by a snake. And their family did everything they could, but Mohan has passed away. That they've actually died as a result of being bit by a snake. The friend returns to Baba Atal Rai and the others on the cricket pitch, if we can call it a cricket pitch. And the news is given to Baba Atal Rai. Baba Atal Rai goes back to the house of Mohan. And it is said that the family is completely upset, consumed by their pain. And in one version of the Itihas, they fall at the feet of Baba Atal Rai, the son of Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji. That being said, Baba Atal Rai, they go up to Mohan and they said to Mohan, it's your turn to bat. Sit up. And they recite the Vaheguru Mantra. They recite the name of God given to us by Guru Nanak. Vaheguru. Sare akho. Vaheguru. As they recite the name, Mohan, he listens. He listens to the name. He listens to the Guru Mantra. It goes into their body and they truly listen to the name. Let's all listen to that name as we recite the Guru Mantra together. Vaheguru. And Mohan sits up straight and they come to life. Mohan goes on to live their life. When Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji Maharaj comes to learn that Baba Atal Rai has done this, they speak to Baba Atal Rai and they say that the way of a Gursikh is to live in hukum. The way of a Gursikh is to understand that hukume andar sabko, bahar hukum na koi, that everybody is in the hukum, within the royal order of the Creator. And that actually it is not our way to bring those back whom via the hukum of Waheguru has left this world. This is not our way. Someone was supposed to leave this world, and that was the hukum of Paramatma, of Waheguru. In this way, Baba Atal Rai, ever so wise, having listened to Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji for their 9 years on this world, they do Matha Tek to Maharaj, and in some history it says they do Parkarma, they walk around Sri Harmandir Sahib 4 times. They recite the Sri Japji Sahib, this wonderful Mala Mantra, this wonderful part that we're going through week by week, and they place their head upon their cricket bat, because this is their childhood toy that they're playing with. They're facing Sri Harmandir Sahib and they elope, they leave their Sarir. They had the ability to leave their Sarir. That was one of their Riddhiya, that was one of the powers that they had. Because we know from the teachings of Bhai Bhikhari, when they went to go and visit, when we know the teachings of Bhai Bhikhari from an earlier pauri, when Bhai Gurumukh went to visit Bhai Bhikhari's house, which we shared together, that the teachings of the Guru is to live in the hukum, to live in acceptance, not to always question or say things should be different, or to even look back and think, I wish I could change that. Because to live in that way is to live in regret. And to live in regret is to constantly punish yourself with things that are beyond your control. And if we can understand that it's not just beyond your control because it's in the past, it was always beyond your control, because that which has occurred was always going to occur, even when it was in the future. And so we can live in it. If we can live in acceptance, what will happen is we will stop blaming ourselves. We will stop treating ourselves with anxiety and guilt. We'll be able to say, Satpach and Maharaj, whatever has occurred was within your hukum, and we only pray that you keep us in your charan as your hukum is going to unfold going forward. So the teaching is Sunaya Pohana Sakke Kal, that if you listen to the Gur Mantar, that death cannot even come near you. Like Mohan, he heard the Gur Mantar from Baba Atal Rai. He heard the Gur Mantar and so he came back to life. But also the teaching we can take from this is that we should always be living in the hukum. And Baba Atal Rai, where there perhaps we can, without being disrespectful to the Guru's lineage, where we can perhaps say there's an illustration of someone departing from that, they recognized and they had to make good, and they left, they eloped, they became one with Waheguru, and they left their physical body behind. The teaching is Sunaya Pohena Sakya Kal. The primary arthe here is that by listening, death cannot even come near you. Hanji.
Nanak Bhagata Sada Vigas.
Guru Nanak is saying, Nanak, says Guru Nanak, Nanak Bhagata Sada Vigas. Sada meaning forever, Vigas in bliss. Guru Nanak is saying that these people that Suniya Sid Pir Suranat, Suniya Tarat Tabal Akas, Suniya Deep Loa Patal, Suniya Pohena Sabke Kal, those that listen in this way, they are Nanak Bhagata Sada Vigas. Those people that do this, they are Bhagats firstly, and they are always in bliss. That if you always reflect upon the Guru Mantra, you will always be in bliss. And you'll know this from your own experiences. And if you haven't, then when we do Guru Mantra together, when we do the Mangal at the beginning, everybody goes into a state of Sehaj. And we're so lucky to be here, you can feel that bliss. And as I say that, I see some of you nodding now. So the test is only to be placed in the pudding, you can taste it yourself. Recite the Guru Mantra and the blessings of the Sad Sangat, just like Vashisht taught us, 96 minutes in the Sad Sangat outweighed, excuse the pun, but literally outweighed the earth in terms of the power, that the Shakti that they developed. Vashisht has spent 96 minutes reciting on the Guru Mantra, on the name of God, and they had this much power. Guru Nanak is saying, Nanak Bhagata Sada Vigas, that those that listen to the Guru Mantra, they reflect upon the Guru Mantra, that they are always in bliss. Hanji.
Suna Dukh Paap Ka Nas.
Guru Nanak finishes the pauri saying, Suniya, by listening, Dukh, all of your pain and suffering, Paap, all of those bad deeds that you may have done, in the system of Pun and Paap which we spoke about, Suniye duk paap ka nas. They will all be destroyed. I'm going to just repeat that. Guru Nanak is saying that by listening to the Guru Mantra, all of your dukh and all of your paap can be nas, can be destroyed. By listening to the Guru Mantra, all of your dukh and all of your paap could be destroyed. Nanak dukhiya sab sansar. Guru Nanak goes on to tell us that the whole world is in dukh. The whole world is in pain. And Gyani Kulwant Singh Ji, a great and respected scholar, they say that the primary reason for all of the pain which people suffer is when they are not in remembrance of the One. If we were to be in remembrance of the One, it is impossible to be in the dukh. It is impossible to be wrapping up any paap in your life. Because if you are in remembrance of Paramatma, they will inform your actions. If you are in remembrance of Akal Purakh, Guru Nanak, then what paap will there be to commit? They will inform your actions, they will inform your feelings. Your actions will mean that you don't commit any paap, and your feelings will mean that you don't have any dukh. Gyani Kulwant Singh Ji says that the dukh in this world is where people forget Waheguru. A primary example of this is when you face difficulties, when we face difficulties in life, the first thing we do is go, right, what am I going to do? We've already fallen over, haven't we? Because if we just step back and say, Paramatma, can you help me out here? Two things will happen. Firstly, you're not on your own. There's now two of you dealing with this problem. Or one amazing person that's got your back, who you're trying to merge with. But secondly, by being in remembrance of them, Guru Nanak is saying, Suniye duk paap kanas. But just by listening to them, your paap will be destroyed. There's a good chance, there's every chance, that whatever obstacle you're facing, that will become nas, that will become destroyed just by reflecting upon the One. How many times have you heard a story or a sakhi of someone having a great difficulty, and in that moment there's remembrance of God, and then they come to the God that they do ardas, and that thing which they were so scared to face, that obstacle which seemed insurmountable, all of a sudden disappeared, destroyed, no longer was before them. Because through that ardas, what are we doing? We are in that moment, we are in remembrance, no? So let's start reflecting on Paramatma. Let's start thinking about God, and let's start thinking about Guru Nanak. And as they inform your thoughts, so too shall they inform your actions. And as your actions are so informed, you'll find that what you're doing day to day will bring different consequences. And there'll be different things and different people that come into your life, and you'll realize that that dukh is no longer there for you to bear. And that paap is no longer in front of you to commit. So we're going to end the katha there. Just very quickly, we've been listening about the importance of listening to God's name. I want to just share something with you that you guys can take away with you, which is a wonderful thing that some Gurmukhs have set up. It's on YouTube, SoundCloud and Instagram. It's called Hypno Mantra. And it's a sleep recording which you can listen to throughout the night. And it's effectively the Guru Mantra. It's the Waheguru Mantra in Simran, in meditation, and the recording's about 8 hours long. What better way to spend your nights than listening to, vibrating upon and reflecting upon the Mool Mantra, upon the Guru Mantra. So the recording is there, it's free, you can't put a price, let me rephrase it, it's not free, it's priceless, it's beyond any qeemat, we can't put a value on it. And so my humble request is, when you're on the way downstairs, we've put the Instagram page, the YouTube link and the SoundCloud address on the screen. So you're all going to take your phones out on the way out of the bar to check your WhatsApp. Take a snap of the photo and start listening to the Waheguru Mantra each and every night. Western science is just about catching up now, and they are understanding that what you expose your brain to as you sleep, whilst you think you're asleep, actually no, it's tick-tock ticking away and is very much able to absorb information. So let's start listening to the Guru Mantra throughout the night. Let's try and take 8 hours Simran, 8 hours remembrance away. And there's a few testimonials there from clinical psychologists and the like, and they will tell you that how it's helped people with insomnia, with anxiety. I'm getting a few nods from Darbar people that are already listening to it. So if you've got any sort of anxiety issues, difficulty sleeping, there are a few testimonials of people on YouTube and on the SoundCloud page that they can show you. So humble Benti Sad Sangat Ji, Guru Nanak over the next few weeks is going to talk to us in depth about the importance of listening to God's name. Let's take the teaching into our heart, and perhaps just as importantly, let's take the actions upon our hands and our bodies. Let's make it functional. Let's start listening to the Guru Mantra on the way to work, on the way home, as you're brushing your teeth, as you're sleeping. Guru Sahib says, Utata Baitata Sovat Nam. That when you're awake and when you're asleep, always reflect upon the name. And one way we can do this is through technology, as Guru Sahib has blessed us. So we're going to finish with reciting the last two Pangati. If I've made any mistakes, and I'm sure I've made many, trying to reflect upon the teachings given to us by Guru Nanak, Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, Miri Piri the Malik, that king, that warrior king who was 6'6", who taught us about the glory in being a physical warrior, as well as a great saint, that we should stand up against Ataram, against bad actions with righteous actions. Please forgive me for those mistakes. I beg of you, you other Sad Sangat, that with your blessings that we can one day properly and maybe fully do the proper Katha of Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji Maharaj. Deho sajan asisriya jo hove sahib syo mel.
Nanak bhagata sada vigas, sunay dukh paap ka naas. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.